Alright guys, hope you're all keeping safe and looking forward to the weekend. Yesterday, for the first time in like 4 months, I had my first haircut, and to be honest, I kind of feel like a new man at this point. It's crazy how I took that for granted before, and now due to, all the stuff going on, I can fully appreciate how glorious a haircut really is. Anyway, moving on, yesterday I posted a poll on Twitter asking whether or not it would be better for Ubisoft to keep investing and iterating on the Division 2 for years to come, or should they look to call it a day for after year 3 and release the Division 3. Today I wanted to discuss that question. Keep building on the Division 2 or scrap it and release the Division 3. Please leave your choice in the comments below and leave a like whilst you're down there. With that said, let's begin. So I think the first question we need to look at is, why would Ubisoft make the Division 3 and will they? So firstly, I have no idea whether or not Ubisoft will make the Division 3, but I am confident they are, and this is likely underway already, but I suspect a different studio is actually working on it and they're just silent. I have no reason to believe that. I have no inside scoop or anything like that whatsoever. Ubisoft are currently hiring for a lot of jobs for an unannounced project, but that really could be for anything. That could be for a new Far Cry game. That could be for anything really. It could be a completely new project. It could be Splinter Cell. No idea. Aside from that, I've seen no reports or no evidence that Ubisoft are planning on making the Division 3, but I just got this suspicion that I think they are. And the reason I say this is because of a few things, actually. If you look at Ubisoft games, Far Cry, Ghost Recon, Assassin's Creed, to name a few, Ubisoft don't drop games. And they either iterate for a long time, and you can look at Rainbow Six as an example, or for the most part, they introduce new games into those series. Division doesn't appear to be a game that will follow the same cycle as Rainbow Six, and instead it kind of falls into that Ghost Recon life cycle with a new game every 3 years or so. Number two, whilst the Division 2 didn't meet the expectations of Ubisoft or their shareholders, the game sold really, really well and had really positive reviews after week 1. And then we had the release of Warlords, which was actually a huge win for them in terms of monetary value. I remember reading somewhere about how strong Q4 was for Ubisoft due to Warlords in the Division 2 and how good it was. This DLC proved to Ubisoft that there's still very much an audience there that are kind of just waiting in the shadows for the perfect game for them. And it's still very profitable if they can get the right formula. Number 3, releasing the Division 3 will likely make more money for Ubisoft than, say, iterating on the Division 2, and they're a business, so money is king. New players or returning players are more inclined to try a new game in the series, with promises of new content, a new location, maybe a new studio, than, say, play a better version of the Division 2. If you look at the Division as an example, this game was pretty good towards the end, but regardless of that, new players joining the fray, they were small. A new game with Ubisoft's unrivaled marketing machine, maybe on next gen, could net Ubisoft a huge win in terms of profit. And number 4, in terms of new gen, with new gen consoles coming this year, Ubisoft may look to take advantage of this with the Division 3. It will provide a huge stage for another game, a stage you don't get for many, many years, and it would be the perfect platform to sell the Division 3. These are some of the reasons why Ubisoft would certainly consider making the Division 3. And to be honest, guys, when I put my poll out on Twitter, I expected the majority of people to choose the Division 2, but I was actually wrong. As you can see, the majority chose the Division 3, and I think there are some really good reasons for that. I actually put out another poll today on YouTube for the same thing, and again, as of me making this video, you guys want the Division 3 as opposed to iterating on the Division 2. So let's look at some of the reasons as to why. Number 1, I think a lot of people chose the Division 3 on the condition that Ubisoft appoint a new studio to take the game in a new direction. I've seen a lot of people talk about the Division 3 stepping away from the kind of the looter genre and to be more of a story-driven RPG PvE game. And I could see this for sure. Number 2, some comments suggested that a combination of the Division with its replayable content and the Division 2 with its, say, gear system and world building is what is really needed to make the Division 3 great. With Massive working on both of them, they're kind of in the best position, they're certainly in the seat to really make that happen. Number 3, like I said before, Ubisoft could take advantage on the next gen consoles with the Division 3. The Division 2 has some technical limitations. For example, the devs cannot increase the amount of players in the Dark Zone. Next-gen consoles would remove a lot of these limitations and allow the devs to improve the experience. One of those experiences being 60 FPS on console. Number 4, Massive is working on Avatar, and it doesn't appear they have any significant manpower working on The Division 2, even though they are consistently updating the game in terms of quality of life changes. Let's not forget, the Iron Horse raid was predominantly made by Ubisoft Annecy, not by Massive themselves. Now, with a limited workforce on The Division 2, big content drops are likely not going to happen for some time, and changes will take longer than usual. Ubisoft could either invest more into Massive, increasing their resources to focus on Division 3, or, and this is what I think a lot of people want, they could appoint a new studio to do this. And now we know right now the devs are focusing on making the Division 2 the best it can be. There are no plans to optimize the game for next gen for that very reason. Title updates every month or two. We get weekly state of the games. I'm pretty sure a year 3 DLC is in the works for March 2021, so that should be something we get to see. The Division 2 has a good base to really strive, and there are plenty of reasons why they should reiterate the game rather than make the Division 3. Number 1, the money and manpower required to make a whole new game could be used to really improve the current game. The devs are working on the skyscraper mode, but with more staff and resources, the devs could really make huge strides forward to making the Division 2 great, even with the technical limitations. Look at how Rainbow Six has been turned around. Number 2, like the Division 2 has saw a vast amount of bugs and changes, with whole systems being replaced like Gear 2.0. I'm going to assume that most people, most of you guys, would not want to go through that again with the Division 3. And I know that sounds presumptive, that would happen, but look at the devs' track record. With the Division, I advocated for the Division 2 because I thought a sequel would remove most of the bugs. I didn't think it was kind of a dev issue. I thought it was more of just the fact that it was kind of the first iteration. And that's not the case. That's not happened. There's as many bugs and stuff in this game as there were in the first one. Number 3, the Division 2, whilst not perfect, is light years ahead of the Division 2 at launch. Sure, PvP is still very bad, but with recent news on TU 10.1, this shows the devs are still looking to improve that experience, just maybe not at the pace people would like. Everything that I'm seeing from you guys suggests Ubisoft should work on the Division 3 instead of trying to iterate on the Division 2. And I guess the reason I wanted to ask this question was because of how Bungie are planning to not release a Destiny 3. But instead have recently announced another 3 years worth of content for Destiny 2, and there's even talks about just changing the title to Destiny in total. Most people there were really happy about that, and I thought the same would be true here, but I think people have really kind of lost hope with this game, and I think the Division 3 could be the game to quote-unquote save the franchise. Now, I'm very torn myself, to be honest. I'd like the devs to keep working on the Division 2, but if Ubisoft could really use the power of next gen to fix and elevate the game, then I'd be happy with them moving on to the Division 3. Would I like to see a new studio? It's hard to say because I do like the studio, but it would be wrong of me to say that there are a lot of issues that have not been fixed, and maybe another studio could come in and fix those, or maybe a new studio could give a fresh pair of eyes and a new way of looking at the game. Some of that would be better than what we've currently got. So I'm kind of open to that idea. In every looter shooter I've played, I've personally always enjoyed the leveling experience more than the end game for the most part, and this is true of the Division 2 and Destiny as well. So to me, when I know that I've got to kind of start again, which is why I think I love DLC so much, because it almost feels like you're starting again. I love that starting again experience. I love having that character that's got nothing and working my way up. Similar to Survival, where you've got nothing, you work your way up to the end game. That's really where I get my fun, rather than the end game itself. So the idea of a Division 3, to me at least, in terms of that, is what I want to see. With that said, I really think they could do a lot with the Division 2, but it is limited by these technical limitations, and if those could be removed and the devs could really get on top of it, I think the Division 3 could be something that we all want. That's it for today's video though, guys. Please let me know what your thoughts, your feedback, your comments, all of that sort of good stuff in the comment section down below. Like I said, I think the majority of you would rather see the Division 3, and that's not because you want to see a new game, it's more because you want kind of new developers and maybe a new direction and that sort of thing, because you've lost kind of hope in the developers of this one, and that's completely understandable. Hopefully you all have a fantastic weekend. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and that way you won't miss out on any Division 2 kind of things like this or news. With that said, until the next one, Epic out.